innovators and visionaries. Welcome back to the AIS Glass Podcast, where we explore how architecture meets science and smart materials meet sustainable minds. I'm your host Debanjana, and today we will crack one of the most complex questions. That is, how to choose the right glass for your building when it stands under the vast and varied Indian sky. And trust me, this is not an easy process as you are thinking. Joining me today is someone who has led one of the most ambitious climate study in glazing industry. Please welcome Mr. Sailesh Ranjan Gupta, Technical and Business Head at AIS and also a pioneer in climate responsive glass solutions. Welcome to the podcast, sir.
Thank you so much, Devanjana, for having me once again. I'm really excited to talk about this climate study. It has really changed the way we look at the glass in India today.
Right, sir. Firstly, thank you for conducting the study. And as an architect myself, I understand that windows are a very sensitive element in building design. So I would like to start by asking what inspired you to take on such a massive undertaking?
There are two major factors which pushed us to do this study. First is the responsibility and the reality. At AIS, we are the thought leaders. And we have done this study to break that myths which was present where people were doing the over-specification of the glass. With over-specification, what I mean is what is not required for that specific building was being used. And it is a waste of the money, the resources and everything. The responsibility is that we will tell the market that what kind of the practice which is right, and it has to be done scientifically. And how it has to be done scientifically? To understand the Indian climate well, to understand how it responds. And finally, after understanding everything, find a solution. What that solution actually tell you to design your building. And to do that, we have done more than 1200 simulations actually to come to a conclusion which is more suitable for Indian climate.
That's such a practical approach which you have taken. Also, I heard that you mentioned you have done some 1200 plus simulations. That's amazing. Tell us exactly what you simulated.
1280 simulation to be very precise.
Oh.
So this simulation basically runs the overall building which is not yet made. You design that building in a software and you put all the features, all the parameters of the building and simulate as if the building is operational for the whole year. And when the building is operational, what kind of energy which it is going to consume, what kind of natural daylight it is allowing, what kind of ROI that building is going to give with the help of the energy efficiency. And what we finally get is an optimal solution for each and every different kind of alternatives what we have selected as the 1280 simulation, which means you have a different climate, you have a different typology of the building for different WWR, which is called window to wall ratios. And basis that we come to all these variables and find a solution for the same.
Oh, so it's like a climate specific cheat sheet. So also in architecture and green buildings, we usually follow standards and norms. I want to understand that have you considered these things in your climate study as well?
I would not call it a cheat sheet. I would call it a toolkit. So what we have tried to do here is to tell everyone how the glass has to be selected in the building for India, for the climate like India. And that is what we have done. And yes, as you have rightly pointed out, we have taken care of all the codes and norms which is prevailing in India. Let's take the example of ECBC, Energy Conservation Building Code, which has now become ECSBC, Energy Conservation and Sustainable Building Code. There are NBCs, National Building Code, and there are BIS standards as well. We have incorporated all those parameters which is mentioned in these codes and norms during the simulation results, and the result which has come out, it is completely as per all the standards which is mentioned in these codes.
So this is a holistic study which appeals both practicality in terms of glass selection for a building and also academia, because you have taken into consideration the standards, the codes into the building.
Absolutely.
Right. So now I want to understand, like coming a bit from the Indian context, what about the glass selection trend in other tropical countries, say UAE, Mexico, Thailand?
As you rightly pointed out, Devanjana, India is a tropical country. What do you mean by a tropical country? A country which is at the Tropic of Cancer. So it has a specific climate which is normally warm and humid.
Okay.
So these kind of climate requires some specific requirement. And India is also one of the tropical country, as you mentioned about UAE, Mexico. These countries, it is slightly ahead of India in the learning curve of using the glass. And during our climate study, what we have done, we have actually done the secondary data analysis as well. With all these countries, we have taken the marquee projects of these countries, what kind of glass they have used, and you will be surprised the kind of glass they have used. It is just the basic solar control or the solar control Lowy glass, not the double Lowy glass. Why is it that? Because a double Lowy glass normally helps you in the conduction. But in these tropical countries, including India, you require the solar radiation to be cut off, and which can be done by reducing the SHGC, which is solar heat gain coefficient. And that is why it is important to understand that if all those countries they have used and they have proven that these kind of glasses are suitable for the tropical country, it firms up our hypothesis what we have done in our climate study, that a solar control or basic low SHGC glass performs better as compared to a very high performing over-specs glass which is being used in India.
So while explaining, you mentioned terms like SHGC, solar heat gain coefficient, and then U value. Can you explain a bit more about that? What should be prioritized more, SHGC or U value?
Absolutely. So if you'll see in India, solar radiation is contributing almost 80 to 85% of the heat ingress in the building, as compared to the thermal conduction, which contributes to almost 15%. You can take this as the real life example and then you can understand. So you yourself will be able to answer which is more important. Let's take the example of a summer heat in Delhi, where you are parking your car at the sun, exposed to the sun, right? And you go and you do the shop and come back. What happens? Your car is red hot, right?
Right.
And it requires a lot of time for that car to cool. But in the same climate, in the same Delhi summer, if you park that car at the shadow, let's take some tree which is there and you have parked your car at the shadow and then you come back, you will not find that kind of heat, right? So at the time when you have parked the car at the exposed to the sun, that time the solar heat has impacted the heat ingress. And at the time when you are parking at the tree, the U value has impacted the heat. So you know that which heat impacts more. And that is why in India you require to control the solar heat, direct solar heat, which can be done only by SHGC, which is also known as solar heat gain coefficient, which reduces the direct solar radiation coming inside the building, when U value reduces the conduction, which is not really that important in India. Yes, it is also an important factor, but not as important as the SHGC.
So let's talk about the different scenarios you considered for the simulation. I would like to know more about the 5 different climatic zones and the classes which you considered for this study, as this will help us to understand the results of the climate study much better.
As I mentioned, that we have done 1280 simulations. These 1280 simulations are 1280 different scenarios, which means, as you said, that 5 different climate. These climate are hot and dry, warm and humid, composite, moderate, and cold. So India is divided into all these 5 climatic zones. Why? Because of the different climate which is there. India is a vast country and you have different climate in India.
Right.
In addition to that, you have different type of the building. Like you have residential, office, commercial, hospitality. In addition to that, the quantum of the glass what you are using, it is defined with the term called WWR, window to wall ratio. With all these different scenario and different type of the glass which is used in the building, we did this detailed study, and finally we reached out to a conclusion that for each and every specific scenario, what kind of the product which is more suitable. And that is what came out with this study, that we have busted that myth of the over specification.
A comprehensive study, I must say. Sailesh sir, in one of your webinars, you had mentioned that the results from the climate study are myth busters. So, what are the myths that were busted because of the study?
There are many, like one glass can be the solution for any type of the building. Second, the glass which is used in the developed country like a Western country can be used in India as it is. Third, we can decide the uses of the glass depending on whatever is the building what we have already made. What actually should have been done is every building should have been taken as a separate case, and basis that case you have to decide the type of the glass which is used. A glass which is used in the Western country may not suitable for India, because if you'll see the European country, they are mainly colder climate.
Right.
And they require heating requirement as compared to in India where we require cooling requirement. And that is why that is not a suitable product for India. This myth has had to be busted. In addition to that, the last, but I would say the most important myth which has to be corrected is that the glass for any kind of building is same, and same glass can be used, which is the best suited glass for best suited building. No, this is wrong. The best glass cannot be the best solution. The most optimum glass can be the best solution for you.
So, is there any glass which you would like to recommend to our viewers for different climatic conditions? Is it possible?
I'm afraid I will not be able to give any standard solution for you, because as I said, every building is unique. So every building's requirement of the glass should be unique. But yes, what we can do with the help of this climate study is we can give you the process which you should select during the overall selection process of the glass. This selection process takes care of the climate and the climate responsiveness of the glass, the kind of SHGC which is required for that specific building. What is the passive designing of the building which is helping the building in reducing the heat ingress, the kind of thermal conduction what you will be requiring, as well as the light requirement. So glass helps you in giving you the natural daylighting. Do not overdo it because it will create a glare. And that is how you can select any kind of product rather than selecting the best solution, as I said.
Rightly said, sir. So, to wrap up this segment, what would be your top advice to all the architects and developers in tropical countries like India?
So, as I mentioned, that India is divided into different climate. Different climate, you have different type of the building. Even the orientation of the building can change the way you select the glass. So, my word of advice to everyone will be use climate as the compass. The different type of the building at the different climate, how it is behaving, what kind of glass to be used, what quantum of the glass to be used. All these are available with the scientific tools. Utilize all those tools which is available. Use the services what the company like us who are giving as a thought leader. And then when you design the building by taking care of all these different variables, I'm sure the building is going to be the energy efficient as well as sustainable.
That is so insightful, Sailesh sir. This study indeed is a game changer.
Absolutely, Debanjana. This study will help everyone in designing the building more efficiently. And at AIS, we'll keep on doing such kind of studies to improve the selection process of the glass.
Right. So the tropics can be hot, but smart choices are cool. That's it for today's segment on climate specific glass. I would like to end with a message that informed choices today will reflect a better tomorrow, quite literally. Until next time, stay curious, stay sustainable. Thank you.